Welcome, everyone, to Understanding the Human Condition. I'm your host, Dr. James Flowers, and this is my amazing co-host, Robin French. I almost said Robin Mooney.
I know. We have two Robins,
Yeah.
Mac.
She knows Robin Mooney.
Yeah, we call
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah.
We're double B. We're 1B and 2B.
Yeah.
at
Well,
work.
welcome,
Maybe a
Robin
newbie.
French.
Thank
you. and Robin Mooney told me to tell you, Mackenzie, hello, and she loves you. And
I love Robin and Jimmy.
I
They're
am
great.
so excited that we are joined today by the one and only Mackenzie Phillips, who you all know from stage, screen, and currently is a huge public advocate for treatment and recovery and substance use addiction. So, Mackenzie, thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to. We were just saying before we started, I haven't seen you in 2 years in person, so I can't wait to see you and hug your neck.
I mean, let's do it. Are you going to go to West Coast this year? West
Oh,
Coast Symposium?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll definitely see you there, and we'll get some squishies in.
Absolutely. I'm coming out to LA on Thursday this week. I'll be staying at the Sunset Marquee, probably one of your old haunts.
The scene of many crimes back in the day.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And I'll be staying there. We're doing Lee Steinberg's Super Bowl party, and we're sponsoring the Brain Health Room. So we're really excited about that. We'll be talking about TBI, and we'll be talking about substance abuse and treatment.
That's going to be very cool.
So, Mac, thank you for doing this with us today.
My pleasure.
thank
You know
you.
I love you. I'm happy to be here.
I love you too. And you just
fine.
had knee replacement surgery.
I did. I'm just about 3 weeks out from total knee replacement. So it is really, and there's an element of mortality.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, how am I old enough to need a knee replacement?
Mm-hmm.
There's an element of it has forced me to slow down.
Sure.
And I'm always a person who's like tasky. Let's do it. Let's get it done. Let's do it. And I currently have just graduated from the walker to the cane.
Yes.
All right.
And then, of course, there's also the element of pain medication and how one manages that in recovery. So that's been the thing. And I have an adult son. I have a 35-year-old son. His name is Shane.
Mm-hmm.
And he lives here in our big old house with me. And he's very boundaried. He's not an addict. God knows that happened. So he's like, holding the meds, bringing them, and so it's been a really interesting time for me. I moved from my upstairs bedroom to the guest room on the main floor.
Yep.
It's just bringing up so much stuff for me in negative ways and in positive ways.
Absolutely.
And I'm managing well. So thank you for bringing it up.
Of course, being in recovery. Tell me about, my background, of course, is chronic pain and opiate addiction.
Yes.
So, Mac, how have you been handling your physical pain from a total knee replacement and then your medication? Because obviously, having total knee replacement, you're going to need some pain medication. So I know that he's been amazing and he's been helping you with holding the medication, which is the right way to do this. But how are you emotionally handling this?
Well, let me say this. I have a history of hyperalgesia.
Mm-hmm.
And chronic pain,
Yep.
which was medicated by a neurologist who said, oh my God, you'll never be off pain medication.
Sure.
It was fentanyl patches, liquid oxy, Actique lollipops.
Gosh.
And it was just over the top. And my brother was in long-term recovery, and he is in recovery again now.
Mm-hmm.
But he sent me a book that said, Healing Your Pain Spiritually.
Yeah.
And I threw it at it. I was like, screw you. You don't understand my pain.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then as one does, which people would think it would be a very unlikely jump to go from prescribed pain medication to street drugs, but I guarantee you it's happening. It's not surprising to think about it in terms of someone like me.
Mm-hmm.
Doing that jump, but it is surprising. People think, well, this guy's a lawyer. He would never do that.
Right.
Oh, yes, he would.
Oh, yes, he would.
He would.
Mm-hmm.
And so when my doctors were like, oh, this is getting a little out of hand, and they stopped prescribing, I started, using black tar heroin. But then when I got sober again, many years ago, the pain was gone, normal aches and pains and creaky this and creaky that. But then thinking back to these prescribed medications and this syndrome
Yeah.
of pain that I was in, which was justifying to continuing.
Absolutely.
So
And you were experiencing that hyperalgesia, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the opioid pins the pain in place,
Yep.
makes it more powerful.
Sure does.
And so, having said all of that, none of that experience really matters unless you're present in your life.
Yep, that's right.
Because the opiate will jump into your brain and make things look very different than they actually are. I've had a really good experience. It's been, at first, this is very interesting to me anyway, and likely to you. At first, when the doses were higher to manage the pain, I was like, oh my God, opiates are so gross.
Yeah.
How did I ever want to feel this way? This is disgusting, right?
I love it.
And then I think they become more tolerable the longer you take them.
Absolutely. They do.
Right?
Yeah.
And so there's been an element of, hey, well, this isn't that bad.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, that thought means the next thought has to go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I know where you're going with this. That next thought.
That next thought has to be,
Yep.
Lower the dose, go from scheduled to as needed.
Yep.
And, so now I'm only taking meds prior to physical therapy.
Good. Yeah.
Which is grueling.
Absolutely.
And sort of torturous.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
it's going well. I mean, I'm working from home.
Yeah.
For Breathe Life Healing Center, where I've been working for almost 8 years. And so a lot of my chart auditing and all the sort of administrative stuff that I do, I can do from home. But it's going okay,
Yeah.
I want to drive. I want to get back in my life. I want to dance, but I can't.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? And you mentioned that you're probably going to have a second knee replacement at one day, right? And you know what? You will. You will recover from this. You'll keep doing that hard physical therapy. Physical therapy is going to get easier and easier. And before you know it, you'll be back at life full time, right? Yeah. You're already going to be back at life full time, but you'll be up dancing and doing the things that you want to do.
Oh my God. I'm so excited.
And speaking of breathe.
Well, let me ask you a question before we move on. I want to ask you a question. Yeah. So in your practice, you treat a lot of people like me in my previous opioid addiction with this chronic pain. This people need to help you up from sitting down. Yeah. And then once the meds are gone, you get back to baseline and you figure out what pain do you really have.
That's right. Yeah.
But then you're dealing with the denial in the mind that creates the pain that needs the opiates.
Yeah.
Right?
Boy, you are so far ahead of the game. That's amazing. Yes, absolutely. In that chronic pain world, Robin, so many people that have ongoing chronic pain, whether it's from sports injuries, whether it's from backyard playing, or whether it's from aging or spine surgery or whatever it is, they get in a cycle of depression and anxiety and fear. Then they develop kinesophobia, which is a fear of movement. If I do anything, I'm going to hurt worse. They get more depressed. You get anxious. You need more medication. You develop what we call hyperalgesia, which means your pain tolerance goes down and your pain threshold goes down. The medication need goes up. Right? It takes more medication to manage the same amount of pain that you were having. So on that little 0 to 10 scale, I often say, Mac, that if someone is rating their pain at a 10, which many people, chronic pain patients do, you can wipe off about 7 points if you remove the emotional and psychological overlay.
That's right.
Yeah, from pain.
And here's an interesting thing too. It's like hyperalgesia versus tolerance.
Yeah.
Because you have the tolerance that builds up over time with pain meds, but then the hyperalgesia lowers the threshold, which creates higher tolerance. So you're in this horrible cycle. Asthma of
absolutely, and your life just spirals out of control. And you start thinking, people who have knee replacements and they get on opiates and pain medication for short-term knee replacement, right? And then you start thinking, oh, this is not good. Oh, this is taking my pain away. Oh, I need a little bit more. This is okay, right?
Yes.
So in recovery, it's really the perfect scenario is to have someone like Shane, your son, a colleague, someone that's helping you or living with you short term, to dole out that medication as prescribed, which is what she's doing, which is the perfect way to do this.
I never knew how boundaried my son is.
Wow.
He's a normie.
He's hardcore, man. He is a gift on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So,
Aww.
yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you have him. Did your mom live with you, Mac, before she passed away? I miss her. I miss seeing her on Facebook. And
Oh my God, my little mommy. No.
Yeah.
You know, when my mom moved from her home of many, many years into assisted living,
Yeah.
I was like, Mom, why don't you come live with me?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, hell no. I am not
Sounds like her. Yeah.
you. I'm not going to do it. And so she moved to assisted living. She did not live with me. I wish she had. But, you know, my mom was a trip, and she was such a lady. And she passed away in 2016.
Yeah.
I miss her all the time.
know.
This is actually the room she would have lived in had she moved in with me. I've been in
Wow.
this house 21 years. So
Yeah, that's
in
amazing.
here with us. But, you know,
She was
she's
a-
missed.
She was a beautiful woman. I miss her too. I miss seeing
Thank
you
you.
interact with her on Facebook and happy birthdays and all of that. So I know that you miss her a lot.
I
You know,
really-
I wanted to give a shout out to Brad Lamb at Breathe Life Healing Centers. And you've been there how many years now?
Almost 8.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I've been at Breathe a long time.
Yeah. Why don't you talk about your journey a little bit from being the amazing actress that you've been your entire life to working with Brad Lamb at Breathe Life Healing Centers? How in the world did that happen?
Well, when I was a little girl,
Yep.
I grew up in a very not normal circumstances. My dad was a rock star. He was Papa John of the Mamas and the Papas. My mom was an Eastern Seaboard socialite, you know, know which fork to use, sit up straight like the queen, no white after Labor Day kind of lady. And I believe I was conceived sort of during a one-night reconciliation, and I never lived with both my parents that I'm aware of.
Wow.
And my dad went on to become this, you know, huge superstar. And my mom was McNamara's personal secretary at the Pentagon. You know, it was this kind of, which is another story.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so I grew up sort of living a double life. It was like Disneyland on acid at my dad's house.
Yeah.
And, you know which fork to use at my mom's house. And I remember, well, one of my dogs is coughing. You're going to hear animal noises
That's
in the
all
background.
right. Yeah. You and I, we all love dogs on
Me
this
too.
show. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in
Good,
good company.
good.
Good company.
So I remember being a little girl and looking around, like 5, 7 years old, looking around at the adults in my life, and not necessarily my mom, although she was a pretty hardcore alcoholic, and thinking to myself, what makes people do the things that they do? What drives behavior?
Yeah.
Why would these adults think it would be okay to be the way that they are around a child?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking this when I was very small.
Mm.
So I was always interested in what makes people do the things that they do.
Mhm.
And apparently I went to my mother when I was a little girl and said, I want to be an abnormal psychologist. That's what she said I said to her. And apparently that was the term in the
I remember
early
that
60s.
term. Yep.
And she said, well, honey, only boys can be doctors.
Oh.
And then I said, well, then I want to be a fireman. And she said, I'm sorry, honey, only boys can be firemen. I said, well, then I want to be a nun. And she said, well, then your boyfriend will be Jesus Christ and you'll never get married and have children. And I said, well, then, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But I digress. I had a lifelong curiosity and obsession with, I'm an observer
Yeah.
of behavior and intuitive, like, oh, when someone does that, that means they're thinking or feeling this, you know? And so the acting train pulled into town when I was 12, and I rode that train in the direction it was going for many, many years.
Yes, you did.
And in those years, going to treatment multiple times and thinking, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to, but of course I wasn't sober yet and didn't get sober for many years, but I thought I want to help. I want to be a helper. I want to be a healer. Then my second book is called Hopeful Healing, because I think of myself as a hopeful healer.
Absolutely.
And I got arrested in August of 2008 for felony possession after many years of recovery and sort of a very public relapse.
Yeah.
And I remember being chained to a bench, handcuffed to a bench, and thinking, uh-oh, oh boy. Because if addiction is like maybe a tumor that needs to be excised, I missed a spot.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't get clear margins.
Yeah.
And I had to go back to the beginning.
Such a great analogy, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you. And I went to treatment again. And I came home and I thought, and I walked into this house that I'm sitting in right now. And I thought, oh my God, am I going to continue to compete with other women? Am I going to follow passion, or am I going to follow expectation?
Yeah.
Because the expectation is for me to, continue to try and book acting jobs and audition. And it's just, pardon me, effing exhausting.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I was tired, And I thought, you know what? Let me go back to school to become a counselor and see if anyone will hire me.
Right.
Yeah.
And I ended up working at a facility for 3 years. Then I was at a conference and Brad said, you want to go for a drive with me? And I said, sure. Because I still love Brad Lamb. I'm obsessed with him.
Yeah.
And he offered me a job. And out of a misplaced sense of loyalty to my current employer, I turned him down.
Wow.
And then I went back to my job. And on a daily basis, my ethical panties were in a twist.
Yeah.
Just like, if I stay, I am complicit. And I texted Brad and I said, if you ever offer me a job again, I will have a very different answer for you. Within 3 weeks, I was at Breathe.
Yeah.
And, I started there as a primary counselor. I carried a caseload, loved it, worked with clients, all that. And then I started traveling to speak. And then my second book came out and I was on a book tour. And, you can't just say to your caseload, hey, I hope the rest of treatment goes well. I got to go.
I got to run. Yeah.
I got to go on a book tour.
Yep.
And so I became the float counselor. And then I became, a director, and now I'm a part owner. And so over the years, I've sort of moved upstairs bit by bit. And, I've found that I'm capable of doing things I never, ever thought I would be able to do. Administrative work, systems improvement, chart auditing, resolving billable hours, all these things that...
So amazing.
I never even thought they would interest me, but apparently...
Yeah, absolutely. Isn't it amazing that you can go from where you were in... obviously having a very successful career, coming from a very successful family, and then also having the addiction, right? The life of addiction and the struggles that you've had, not even believing, oh my gosh, I could own part of a treatment center. I could own a treatment center. I could audit charts. I can save lives. You wanted to do it, but you thought, how am I going to do that? And,
how am I going to? I always had this idea that Mac can't drive a stick.
Yeah.
Oh, Mac can't do this. Mac can't do that because of early conditioning that I was only capable of one thing.
Yeah.
And as they say in recovery, these old ideas that we have about ourselves have to be smashed.
That's right.
So that we can create space for new skills, new interests, new ways of being. And I got to tell you, when I started working at Breathe Life Healing Center, I was sitting at the feet of the master. I was sitting at the feet of Kathleen Murphy.
Yeah.
For many years. And she was our clinical director and, a brilliant psychodramatist, a sensory motor psychotherapy therapist, one of those magical unicorn people.
Right.
And Kathleen has since, after founding Breathe Life Healing Center and creating the curriculum that we use at Breathe, has since left Breathe and moved on to On-Site, where she works.
Love Kathleen, yeah.
Oh my God, she's so yummy.
Yeah.
So now we have Adrienne Glasser, who is an internal family systems guru.
Yep.
and is a brilliant clinician in her own right. And so we keep on keeping on. We have the echoes and the remnants of the beautiful program that Kathleen Murphy created.
Mm-hmm.
And then we add in this incredibly trained internal family systems therapist. So we have this really rich and vivid program where, and we also have our chemsex track. So we work with gay men with crystal meth and sex addiction, where those wires of meth and sex are so tangled up that the work of untangling those wires and having a sex positive sex life instead of a meth induced sex life is something really important and something that we do very well.
It is so needed in our community, in my community, the LGBTQ plus community, and it's an underserved population, I believe, and especially that chemsex population. And you guys and my good friend Manny Rodriguez at La Fuente, who's a good friend of yours. You guys both do such great jobs in that population. So thank you for making that a part. And obviously Brad Lamb is very proud of that program as well that you guys do. So congrats to all you guys are doing at Breathe. We're a big supporter and we love you guys. So, I wanted to ask something rather difficult, and that is, again, coming from the family that you come from and the life that you've had and the struggles that you've had and the huge successes now that you're experiencing, you had a very, very difficult relationship with your father, and you had a significant amount of trauma related to your father. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about overcoming that trauma.
Sure. When I think about my father and I think about my life, I think about generational trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I think about inherited trauma. I think about the perfect storm of untreated mental illness, raging addiction, and childhood abuse and neglect that we unwittingly pass through the generations. My father was a narcissist, and I've discovered there's no pill for narcissism.
There is not.
There's no pill. You can't just go, oh my God, you're a narcissist. Here, take some Effluvia. You'll be better and you'll stop hurting the people. And
because they never think they are.
Exactly.
Right.
So, it took me a long time to see that I had been groomed and that I had been prepped for incest and sexual abuse from a very young age. And when I think about incest survivors and how it's so taboo and people don't want to think about it, people don't want to look at it, people don't believe that it happens as often as it does, not only in societies around the world, but in Western society and here in the United States. And I believe that in order to speak of forgiveness, I had to practice forgiveness. So I know my dad didn't hold me in his arms for the first time and go, oh, goody, a baby girl. I'm going to drug her and I'm going to groom her and I'm going to have sex with her while she's unconscious. I just don't think that's how it went down. And I hate what he did. And it's so difficult because it's such a complicated thing to think about or even speak about, because I loved my dad, but he harmed me. And his music is brilliant. Like, he was a genius, but he was a tortured, megalomaniacal, narcissistic genius.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so for me to walk free from that, those two things have to be able to exist at the same time. I have to be able to love my dad, but I also have to be able to hate what he did to me. And so then I am left with this busy brain that has conflicting emotions about that. Like, it's like coming from a wealthy family. How do you speak of neglect?
Exactly.
Yeah. How do you go, oh my God, my needs weren't met, but you lived in a mansion and your dad had a Rolls Royce and there was a chef, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all of these things are very conflicting. I forgave my father on his deathbed.
Yeah.
He couldn't speak anymore. He was intubated, but I know he heard me.
Absolutely.
And I said, I'm grateful that I am your daughter. I am grateful for the highs and the lows, because the person that I have become is tremendously resilient and able to say, oh, me too. I've been there. I've walked through this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's something interesting. High on Arrival, my book that was, New York Times bestseller.
Yep.
The host was like, oh my God, Mackenzie Phillips shares this devastating secret. Came just a little too early. If High on Arrival had come out during the Me Too movement,
oh
for
my
sure.
gosh,
nobody would have the
absolutely.
backlash that I had from
which
that
is
book.
traumatic in itself, I'm sure.
It was absolutely traumatic.
Yeah.
I mean, I still can't wrap my mind around it. I remember sitting at home one day and I turned on, I don't know, Access Hollywood or Extra or one of those, and they were showing a clip of me talking to Oprah Winfrey on her show, and they had a body language expert watching it and commenting on whether or not I was telling the truth.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Can you imagine in our current climate?
Not today.
Nope.
It would never have happened.
Never. Yeah.
So, I guess I was a pioneer.
Yeah. You were. You absolutely were.
And it wasn't an easy time.
Yeah.
It wasn't an easy time, and I lost my family.
Yeah.
And we have since reconciled. We are, as close as a scattered family like mine can be.
Sure. Yeah. Full of artists and geniuses, right?
Yeah.
And that's a difficult...
mad geniuses.
Yeah, mad geniuses.
But it's been an incredible ride. And sometimes I think about, like I was talking earlier about that mortality thing, about having a knee replaced, your joints going bad, having osteoarthritis, and I'm like, how am I 62?
Yeah.
How did my son just turn 35 last week?
Damn it.
It's shocking.
Well,
yeah, I know. I want to wrap up that segment real quick on your dad by saying the gift I feel like you were given was the gift of healing other people and being able to talk about that experience, Mac, and really showing women, men for that matter, everyone that's been through what you've been through, that it's survivable, and not only can you survive, but you can thrive.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So are you still singing, and are you doing any acting besides Breathe?
I don't actively seek acting work. I have an agent, because I've always had an agent, so it seemed like I should just have an agent. And I mean, let me tell you that when I did Orange is the New Black, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I was at the Flight Attendant Drug and Alcohol Program Conference.
Yeah, in Vegas.
Baltimore.
In Baltimore. Okay.
You're thinking of LAP.
Yeah, LAP. Yeah.
And I got a call from my agent, and I was sitting there with Kathleen Murphy and Deb Hughes, the CEO of Breathe. And my agent was like, hey, Orange is the New Black called. Do you want to put yourself on tape for Orange is the New Black? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So the CEO of Breathe, Deb Hughes, played the other role.
That's amazing.
Kathleen Murphy, the clinical director of Breathe, directed the audition.
That's amazing. Wow.
We're at a conference where I'm presenting on generational trauma.
Right.
Oh, wow.
I email the tape back to my agent, and as I'm waiting in line in security to fly home from the conference, I get a call that I booked the job.
Amazing.
It's so funny how that works. So then I was on location in New York for 4 or 5 months, sitting in my prison uniform in my dressing room, auditing charts on my computer.
I love it.
Working at Breathe while working on Orange is the New Black. And so do I have any acting work in the works? No.
Yeah.
Could that change at any given moment? Sure.
Sure.
Do I value myself by my last acting project? Part of me does, because that was ingrained in me.
Yep.
Okay.
But the work that I do at Breathe is so fulfilling and so exciting.
Yeah.
And every day, I remember when I was doing the new One Day at a Time on Netflix, and then it was at Sony, so I could just drive over to Breathe. So I'd be at Sony rehearsing and doing the new One Day at a Time, and then the day would end early, and I'd get wrapped, and I'd get in my car, and I'd drive over to Breathe, and I'd walk into a clinical meeting where people were talking about saving somebody's life.
Yeah.
what clinical interventions can we use to retain this client in treatment so that they don't end up dead?
Mhm.
And I thought, this is my jam.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fun, but
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is my jam.
Yeah. This is where I want to be and where I
That's
need to
right.
be. Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. You wanted to ask her, you told me in the elevator ride over here, you said, let's talk about dogs.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you had Louie. You didn't introduce Louie. Is he still there in your lap?
Here's
Oh.
Louis.
Hey, Louie.
Louis,
We're
he's
huge
18
dog
years
lovers.
old. He's lived with me since he was 4.
Did you rescue
And then
him?
I'll introduce you to one more guy.
Yeah.
Now, are they all rescues, Mac?
All of them.
Oh, I
Oh.
This is
love that.
One Eye.
Oh,
His name is One Eye.
Aww.
He's 14.
I love
He's
it.
my baby.
When did you rescue him? How old was he?
He was a year and a half,
Oh.
and he was
Bless
a
you.
one-eyed dog at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But his name was Hershey.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, Hershey,
Mm.
no,
Doesn't fit.
your name is One Eye. So we call him One-E.
I love
Aw,
it. Hey,
he's
One-E.
adorable.
He is beautiful.
He's deaf.
Oh, okay.
He can't hear.
All
Hello. He can't hear a word.
That's fantastic. I love it.
So you've got 4?
I had 4 dogs,
Oh.
but Rudy Pug passed away in December.
I'm
Yep.
sorry.
So now we have 1 pug, 2 chihuahuas, and 3 rescued cats.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a busy house.
It is a busy house. So
Yeah.
speaking of being busy, when you're not at Breathe and you're, you and I being in this business, when we're not at work, we're at work, right?
Right.
It's on our mind and we're working all the time. What do you do for self-care and what do you do for fun
Well,
when you're not recovering from knee replacement?
I am an avid board gamer.
Ah,
Oh.
And I'm not talking about Risk or Monopoly
Right.
or Settlers of Catan.
Mhm.
My son and I play these massive board games. It's a category of board games called Euro games,
Okay.
and they're heavy strategy games. And so we've
Fun.
turned our den into a game room. We have many, many games. We play
Cool.
whenever we can. And
Good for
that's
it's,
you.
amazing.
talk about something that,
Yeah.
that promotes neuroplasticity.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, you're not getting Alzheimer's.
I don't think so, because this is this massive game table, and you're managing resources and finances and worker placement, and it's absolutely
So wild.
wonderful.
I love
I
that.
love it.
And what
And
a
I
great
also-
relation. Go ahead.
I also play Oculus, the VR
I
headset.
love Oculus.
Oh, I've never done
So
that.
much fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. Good for you. Now, are you able, you're probably not able to do Oculus right now with your knee, huh?
Well, I have been playing Fruit Ninja from the bed,
Oh, I love it.
What?
because you can
Fruit
you can,
You
set
wouldn't
a,
get it.
you can set a stationary boundary.
Yes, you can.
And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
You're using your arms and swords.
You'll
and-
have to
yeah.
explain that to me later. I
Exactly.
don't
We'll
even know what
talk
that
about
is.
I know. Yeah.
I can't wait until I can play my favorite game standing up again, but I
I
can't
bet.
do it right
Yeah. No, not at
now. It
all.
was too dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Well, we ran
Yeah.
out of time.
Oh.
Do you want to ask her your understanding question?
I could sit here for
I know
another
you're good.
hour
I know.
with her,
You
or
do
2
that.
hours with her.
We're way over time.
Yeah, you know what, Mac? I always want to ask you or ask folks, what is your understanding of the human condition? That's a hard question, a little curveball out there, but you are the epitome of the human condition,
are.
really. You know,
Well, I think that we forget that we are light.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
We are light. We are electricity. We are power. We are love.
yeah,
And I think we get so caught up. I get so caught up in the doing of tasky. Let me do this. Oh my God, I have to do that. Let me do the laundry while I clean the floors, and
Yeah.
that I forget to remember
yeah,
Yeah.
that I learned this from Kathleen Murphy, that I have inherent worth and value
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that cannot be taken away.
Yep.
And that I am the physical manifestation of light.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. What a perfect way to end this. And let me say one more quick
Yeah.
thing. I am so proud of you for your life and what you've been through and where you are, and being now a part owner at Breathe and all the work
Yeah.
that you're doing at
Congratulations.
Breathe. with Brad. Please tell Brad I said hello. One other person that told me to tell you hello that loves you and has known you your entire life is my wonderful friend Candy Finnegan.
Oh my God, do I adore that woman.
Yeah.
We have stories,
I bet you do.
That's another episode.
Exactly. That'll be another episode. I should get the two of you on an episode
Oh,
together.
yeah.
Fun.
Wow.
She is something else, man.
Yes.
And I loved her husband, Mike, too.
Oh, I love Mike Finnegan so much, and I love Candy. I'm having dinner with her Friday night. Can't wait
Will
to
you
hug
kiss
her.
her right on the face for me?
I will.
Aw.
I
Right
will.
on that
Yeah.
face.
I will. I'm kissing you, air kissing you, and I hope to see you really soon.
Well, Mackenzie, if anyone wants to reach you, and any of our listeners, how do they reach you?
Oh, so my handles for social media are at Mac, M-A-C-K Phillips.
Okay.
Instagram, Twitter, and also Facebook is Mackenzie Phillips.
Yeah,
Okay.
And breathelifehealingcenters.com.
absolutely. Yeah.
Dr.
You hear my
Flowers?
cat meowing in the
I
back?
do saying,
Yeah.
don't forget about
It's
me.
just like, feed me.
That's right.
I know.
Cat
Feed
needs
me.
some attention.
Yeah.
Dr. Flowers, how do folks reach you?
You know what? J Flowers Health Institute, and it's jflowershealth.com. And I would love to have you and Brad out to Houston.
Yeah.
Come tour J Flowers Health and
a great idea.
spend some time with us. You got to
That
go.
would be great.
Yeah.
And I know we're having a tour with you at some point soon, too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we sure
Okay.
are. Yeah. I'll call you offline and say hello.
Thank
Okay.
you
All right.
again.
Love you, dear.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you,
Nice
James.
to meet you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'd like to remind everyone watching or listening to us that there are numerous platforms to find our podcasts: YouTube, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Please share this episode on social media or with someone you think it could help. And we'd like to remind you, a clear diagnosis is key to the most effective treatment possible.
Absolutely correct. Thanks, Robin.
See you next
Yeah.
week.
Bye.